Welcome back to the channel. We are the Movie Marathon Men. I'm Owen Garner.
And I am Luke Carr.
And we watch films that make us go, Today we're back for another episode of our Saga Wars watch through of the Deadpool and Wolverine films, building up to one of the most anticipated films of this summer. We're both very excited for it, I think that's fair to say. And today we're doing the first Deadpool film. So, Luke, what are your opening thoughts, impressions on Deadpool?
It's all right.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to be unpopular.
Okay. It was... You know what? I appreciate this film. Mm-hmm. Because it shook it up. It ruffled some feathers. It added a nice dimension to the genre. But I can't say that I really enjoyed it. I was like entertained.
It's sort of a protest vote of a film.
It's spoiling
like,
the ballot.
It's going
on the ballot paper.
To be fair, that's the most Deadpool thing ever. Deadpool definitely draws a penis on every ballot paper he's ever had.
Yep. The humor just didn't land at all for me. When I watched it in 2016,
it's because you're not 15.
When we watched it when we were 18, I think, when this came out.
Were we?
I think, yeah. So when we watched this, it was
really, did the first one come out when
2016?
Wow, so like our first year of uni, this came out.
Yeah.
Are you sure it didn't come out before?
Yes.
I think, yeah. What we've touched on there, I think it maybe did do some important things, but it really doesn't take itself seriously enough to have actually done important things.
Yeah.
So, our first category, and that is story.
Yeah. This is actually a difficult one. I've given it a 7, but to be honest, it's like they've done a really, really good job of dressing up the most basic story, because it's a told through flashbacks of what is essentially a person drawn like in desperation. It's a musician's biopic. He's about to go on stage for the big number, and then he relives all the moments in his life before that. But like, it is just a very basic superhero story that they have dressed up with humor.
We're going to have to try and talk each other up, because the sentence that I'm desperate to say there is it's quite contrived. Like it's tropey. It's quite a basic origin story. I did say that the origin story stuff for me does work. Like that stuff I think is
that
good.
Sequence where
it's done well.
Powers is good.
And yeah, they've dressed up what is quite a basic story. So I've given it an 8, and I think I will stand by that. And I'm saying, oh yeah, it's this Steve Coogan meme, and it's like, oh, they're tropes and stuff. But it is a superhero movie. They are archetypal characters. And this does it in interesting ways, and it has interesting story devices. Him breaking the breaking the fourth wall. That's fun. There are things that this film does really well. The inciting incident comes quite early, and we know, and stakes are set, which I think that is good.
Absolutely. It's a 7 for me, because that's as high as I can give something that takes, story-wise, 0 risks. There's not a risk made in the story. In every other department, sure, but... Do
we think that it takes 0 risks because this film is taking shots at everyone and everything?
It's a safe way out to say that, though.
Yeah.
Like, the credits do some hot chick, some dumb guy's film, a British villain. Like, they do all this stuff to, like, set up how it's a basic film.
Yeah.
But I've still got to watch it. Like, I've still got to watch the basic film. It's a vehicle for the jokes, and it's a vehicle for the fourth wall breaking. It's a vehicle for the gimmick, and
so it lives and dies on that point. And if it doesn't land for you,
if it doesn't land for you, there's nothing else intriguing, right? Because you're shown the ending at the beginning, so you're not a single person in the world is watching Deadpool and going, I can't wait to see how this ends. Yeah, like, I'm tense to see if this immortal guy is going to live by the end of this. This like bridge fight. Yeah. No one cares about that. They just want to have fun. Yeah. So the story is, I think, the best way to dress up. Guy hits rock bottom, gets superpowers, is betrayed or whatever. Vengeance. That's it.
Well, as you say, the attraction is the jokes, but also the attraction is the action. Yeah. It's R-rated, and it's the first R-rated superhero movie, really, I think. Maybe Blade was, It probably
That's
was
the first
actually.
comic, but I guess you debate superhero.
Yes, because he's a villain, really.
Yeah.
I mean, but this, and is Deadpool a hero? Really, he's kind of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
I suppose he is a hero. That's kind of the themes of these.
Yeah.
So these films do have themes, and they do have emotional hearts,
Yeah.
and they do have these things. But yeah, it can't be higher than an 8 for me, which is still pretty high.
It's still really high. Yeah.
And they do. It has a good structure,
Yeah.
and I've said like, oh, it's a trope. They do these flashbacks things. Yeah, but it's good and it's engaging.
Yeah.
Like it's and you're kind of.
You know who isn't engaged?
Deadpool. So our next category is character.
Mm-hmm. I've given it a 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I've given it a 7. And there's a lot of personal opinion in there. And it's this feeling of, I think it's fantastic, but I didn't like it. The uniqueness of the character is something which has to give it so many points. We talk about Logan and whatnot, and it's like, oh, it's a great character. So it's a good character in like film language.
Yeah.
Deadpool is the only character I've seen in a big way be like this.
Yeah.
And it makes the films entertaining. Like, I can watch all the jokes, like the whole he's upside down. Did I leave the stove on? And stuff like I don't find it funny, but
Yeah.
I also just don't see it anywhere else.
No.
And it's just
But
like,
is there a reason for that?
maybe, but like it's this like, I don't know. You watch it and sometimes you see something you've never seen before, or you don't see anywhere else, and it attracts you in a different way. I have to give it a 7, but I also have to give the caveat that I didn't find any of this funny. I really didn't.
Oh, really?
I really stopped finding things funny. Like it sort of kind of like got to me.
Yeah, right.
At the halfway point,
you hit the point of diminishing returns.
It's the, I know it's in the trailers, all this stuff where it's like he takes his mask off. He's like, you look like an avocado.
Yeah.
And then you look like this guy has sex with a map. And like,
Yeah.
I'm like this with teeth. Or they just keep going and going and
Yeah.
going, and it just, the whole film is filled with people who make those jokes.
With it, but also they just put comedians in a room, turn the cameras on, and went, just do whatever.
Yeah.
For quite a while, and it feels like that. But they went, oh, should we put in the best take? No, let's put in all of them.
Every take.
Let's put all of them. Let's put
Yeah.
every joke that you made. One of them might land.
So yeah,
I think I prefer pre-Deadpool Wade. I again found Wade Wilson kind of funny, and there's the kind of big scene with him where he's Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting. I kind of wanted more of that before he was Deadpool. I gave it an 8. Yeah, I mean, we learn quite a lot about Deadpool in his first scene, straight out the gate. Through flashbacks and the structure of the story, we learn quite a lot about him. I think a lot of the character dynamics work really well, and for me, the villain I like, and that is the difference between a villain like this and Sabretooth. They're really quite similar in that, not in their actions and what they're, but like in their motivation. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm just evil and I'm just this way. That's just what I'm like, man.
Yeah.
But this one works and Sabretooth doesn't. And it is that kind of X factor. I don't know what it is really that is different.
X factor.
It's that M factor, sorry. But it's I don't know what is.
X-Men.
Yeah, it's of X-Men. Yeah. No, but it really, I don't know what it is that kind of actually separates them. I think just the performance is better and more nuanced, and he doesn't say
corny lines every single time.
But also there is a more clear path for him.
Yeah,
he talks about his past as well in bits and touches on stuff.
Yeah.
But they're very similar because he just kind of is evil and that's his deal.
Yeah.
But it just works better for me, and I felt the character dynamics. Dupinder is great.
Oh, he's great.
And it's really funny.
Yeah.
When he calls them pool boys, stuff like that. I don't know. Dupinder is brilliant in this one.
Yeah.
I really like him.
This is one where I just have to separate my personal opinion from the film a little bit and give it a 7. Even if I didn't like these characters, they're good.
Right, so our next category is production. Mm-hmm. So what have you given this for production?
A 9.
Yeah.
I thought this was perfect for the film that it was. I can't give it a 10 because there was there's nothing, I can't actually picture a lot of it in my head now that I'm thinking about it. There's nothing that's like lasted. That's the sort of, I think for me, the distinction between that 9 and 10 is that 10, I almost think, I have to see this sequence again. This bit where he did this thing, or this car crash, or this but in the film, everything was actually quite immersive.
Yeah.
Like the pace of the action scenes fit with his quips. You know, like you didn't even have to follow what was going on necessarily, but you could.
Yeah.
But it cut in a choppy way well. It was a cartoonish sort of like the way things would roll around or explode, the cut to slow motion, the quick zooms. It felt like a comic book. It felt like it was breaking fourth wall. It perfectly fit the film that it was. I think it was great.
Yeah.
Production is.
I've given it a 10 on production because for me, it is just that one step further. There are sequences that I remember. I mean...
And it's so fun.
And it is really fun.
Like
you're watching heads fly, and it's fun.
It's not just quips.
Yeah.
In between boring, schlocky action.
Yeah.
They make the action entertaining.
Yeah.
Like that's where I like Deadpool's jokes. I actually quite like them in the thick of the action.
Yes.
When he's fighting people and he chucks in a little quip, gets punched in the face or whatever, and then kills them in a cool way.
Yes.
That stuff is fun.
That is funny.
It's the standing around and him being like topical reference. That stuff doesn't get me. But the actual fight scenes, the way that he breaks it up by being fun. You could watch a 45-minute action scene. I think if they had the budget.
Yeah.
And I would be entertained the whole time.
It's gallows humor.
Yeah.
He's making a joke at a person. He's saying something about their haircut.
Yeah.
And then he cuts their head off. Yeah. Like it's really funny. He's like, "Oh, I think you need a bit more off the top."
Yeah.
Ding. That's
good.
really funny. And for me that really works. But the flip side of that is sometimes we do have to pause for a joke. It's that bit in Peep Show where, you know, Jeff's doing a joke. It's Deadpool's doing a joke of you just... The oven one doesn't get me.
Yeah, no,
that one, we just pause an action sequence for him to do a joke that isn't funny.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Pausing is really, is it? It's like the bit, it's just the first bit of the action scene. You know, he comes in, makes one joke here or there, puts a picture up, and he's like, "Have you seen this man?"
Yes.
Gets punched in the face.
That one was really
puts
funny.
Like the cigarette thing in the guy's mouth, makes another joke.
Yeah.
Kicks him out. I don't know. Like,
Have you seen this man one really
like
got me.
All this sort of stuff. It's in the heat of the moment where he's just like, you have like 1 second to give a line.
Yeah.
They only had one line to give. It wasn't Ryan Reynolds give like 6. Whose line is it anyway? Like,
where he's talking about Voltron for 10 minutes and you're like, I don't actually, this isn't funny.
No.
Yeah.
So all of the action pulls together really, really well. Yeah. And it's not like it's colourful, the world. It's not like the direction is flying all over the place. But it shouldn't. Like, if this was shot really, like, cinematically, it would be weird.
Yeah.
Like, you have to match the film you're making, and this film does.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think the suit looks great.
The suit looks great, isn't it?
It looks really, really
it's so
good.
Real.
But the face stuff is so good.
Because he's emotive.
It's so good.
That's where we can not like Ryan Reynolds in the humor and whatever. But him in the suit is one of the best suit performances I've seen in anything ever. Like,
but the thing is, he's Ryan Reynolds and we're not. Like we're here and we're able to say like, oh yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't land for me. It just doesn't do this. But he's Ryan Reynolds, and he is the best at being Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. So let's move on to our next category, and this is rewatch. I'm interested to hear what you have to say here.
Yeah. So
every other point, I've really not cared.
No, that's fair. So this is a rewatch for me. I have seen it before, and recently I wasn't 11, so I remembered watching it the first time. I don't think this held up very well on a rewatch at all for me. It really did not. I thought there was more of this film.
Yeah.
Like, I really thought there was more that happened.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten it, but there wasn't. So I spent the whole time kind of waiting for other stuff to happen, and none of it did.
And then it finished.
And then it finished. And more so, the jokes were like, on the first viewing, say it's a 50-50 hit rate of like, not 50-50 laugh, but 50-50 fine.
Yeah.
Like that was alright. And then half the other ones, I will actively made the film slightly worse each time. Yeah. On a personal basis. This time, that ratio was skewed. Yeah. 90-10 or whatever of like, almost every joke didn't work for me at all. And the scene, the like just the scenes where they're going back and forth, quip.
Yeah.
Drag. They really, really drag. Like, I was only really enjoying the action scenes in this when I rewatched it.
Yeah. I mean, if the jokes are based entirely on shock value, can they ever work the second time round?
Exactly.
The answer is no, they can't. But what I will say, though, the reference a minute, you do pick up different things on different watches.
That's fair.
But the jokes didn't land.
No.
For me, really. So the ones that did land, the "Have you seen this man?" I really liked, because there was almost this sort of euphoria, and it was a joke that I liked.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, half of the other jokes really served to make this film worse. You know, what we're saying, though, is that we actually can't criticize this movie. It's just not really for us.
It's not for us. And I think we're mature enough now. We're so mature to recognize that this is one where I have to just take the loss, I think.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but
you know it was good.
It's good. Like, it is.
And you know it did well.
And it did well. My rewatch, I didn't even give my score. It's only a 6. It's only a 6 for that.
It's a 6 for me as well.
I think the action brings it up so...
Yeah.
I'd be flagging. It'd be 20 minutes that have gone by with just jokes and just stuff, and I'd be like, do I actually have to finish this?
Yeah.
Then you'd get a good action scene, and I energize myself back up again.
And literally, if you've heard us say this premise, and you think, oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Like this is a good late night comedy. That's also a great action.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, from those standpoints, it does work, but it maybe just isn't what we're wanting. So our final category is the M factor. So Luke, what is your M factor score?
It's a 10. It is a 10. This is we've talked about this sometimes. Films that are bad and have M factor, good and don't have M factor, films that you like that do and don't like that whatever, you know. I don't like this film that much, but it has so much M factor. This is such a...
I think you are right, actually. Yeah.
Like, this is its own... Like, at the time, we were 18. We watched a bunch of films, tried to make ourselves, film bros and catch up and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think I appreciated it then. Now, I think about... It's been 8 years since it came out. Has there been a blockbuster that's been similar to this? And in all of those 8 years, that's felt like... It's felt sort of like it. That sort of opened up the genre. Everyone went to see it. It was... unique,
because that is one of that's
like this.
I think you're right, actually, that is one of the most important things is not only did this break expectations, subvert everything, but also had everyone come and see it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Everything Everywhere All at Once,
maybe, but it's not. But that also has a lot of M factor.
That does,
but it's not on the same scale, I don't think. Because if this film didn't land, everyone would imagine making a film about the most popular film genre in some of the biggest years of that film genre. Yeah. And if it didn't land, how much everyone would hate. Like, you're parodying something that everyone loves badly. Yeah. You have to hit out of the park.
Yeah.
I don't know. In hindsight, this is a very exciting film.
Yes.
And I don't think I appreciated that at the time. I was a bit too bitter about it.
Yeah.
In hindsight, though, it's got M factor.
Yeah. I think you're right. I'd put 7. I don't know why. You're right. It's a 10. And because looking at my notes, I've said it's a very original concept, as you've just said. It's incredible action that's really fun and pretty singular in its execution and delivery. Mm-hmm. This has given us literal execution, but this has given us, it's opened the door to R-rated superhero movies. Yeah. But so ahead of its time, because it opened that door, and there's only been like one since, right? Like Logan. What?
It's Logan.
Have any of the others actually been R-rated?
No, they haven't.
So this opened the door.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh, is that R-rated?
It might be 15.
The suit is incredible. Like, that has so much M factor. Just the execution of that. I can't stop saying the word execution. And now I'm thinking of bits where he executes people in the film.
No, but execution is a fair point here. Yeah. Not on the killing part, but on you. If I described this film to you, handed you the script,
yes,
you would.
No, you're right, Luke. I couldn't do it.
You would read it and think,
yeah,
nah, like, this isn't going to look good.
I'd be concerned for you if you wrote this script and gave it to me.
Especially if the film had already come out. I've just rewritten the Deadpool script.
Let's hear what the critics and the audience did say.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not surprising. Critics, 85%.
Wow, yeah.
Which is high for this type of film.
Well, for a comic book movie,
a comic book movie at all. But
also
movie,
just a
crude,
uber-violent movie as well. It sort of hits all of the things that critics don't like.
Yeah.
Uber-violent. It's just good fun, Jan. Get it! anything that's crude,
Yeah.
they don't like, and they think, oh, but I actually went to film school.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, but you're not actually making films. You just write about how other people's about. Critics are always wrong.
Every single one of our
I can't do one of our videos without me saying how stupid critics are, and that's what we are. Oh.
Especially you're saying that when they've made a good decision. I said 85, and you're like, yeah, but normally, I'm gonna make up a scenario where they didn't like this film.
I'm gonna make up a scenario in my head and get annoyed by it.
So they gave it 85. Audience 90.
Yeah.
Which again, you'd expect 10%. I'm sure that was the whole like, I went to this film with my 2-year-old thinking it was Spider-Man.
Yes.
All that sort of stuff. Box office though, was only 9th for the year. Bit strange, but it was the highest grossing R-rated film ever.
Right. Yeah. Which and again, as we said, this opened the door, which they've not walked through enough times.
Yeah, it's
but
not. It's not.
Deadpool
still, of course.
and Wolverine is going to be.
It's going to be
R-rated.
Yeah. So could reclaim that. It'll be a bit difficult. Joker's top 1.3 billion or something like that is Joker.
Right.
I think this one's in the 900 millions. So Joker stands by itself. Oppenheimer is 2, by the way. So on 900 and something million. So Joker's like a layer above.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So Deadpool though at the time smashed it open.
Yeah.
Like obliterated the previous record.
Yeah.
Beloved by many, just not
just not us. Well, let's ask that question, shall we? Our final question. So, Luke, is Deadpool a watch or not?
It is a watch. It is a watch. It's all personal preferences, our criticism, and it really is. It's literally everything negative I have to say about this film is subjective.
Yeah,
I have no objective criticism about this film.
Yeah, well, everything negative that we have to say is a positive for someone else.
Yeah,
where we're like, oh, I didn't really like this humor, this style of humor. Like, oh, the comedy doesn't land for me because this, and this. Somebody else is sitting there. Quite a lot of somebody else's are sitting there, going, I disagree.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, fair enough. And we're excited to go see Deadpool and Wolverine.
I am. Yeah,
and it's not just because of Wolverine. Like, and that is so to the credit of this film and the next film. Of we're like, oh, I don't know, it just kind of doesn't work for me. But I really want to see the next one. Like, so they just kind of stand on their own.
Exciting film.
Yes.
If you had watched Origins Wolverine and then The Wolverine, this film kind of hits you like a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a watch. It's absolutely a watch.
Well, there we are. We will be back with the next video in this Deadpool and Wolverine Saga Wars. Up next, it is Logan. Very excited for that one. But until then, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps us here amazingly on the channel. Well, we have been the Movie Marathon Men, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
How low can you go?
It was a 10.